Okay. And we're back. Hi. Actually, I noticed from last time my camera's flipped. So we're gonna. There you go. Okay. I like the first chapter. Okay. We're back with chapter 5. Mm-hmm. Okay. People we meet. Hey, this is the date between Toya, Hawks, and Dobby. Okay. What are you getting so dressed up for? Toya looked into the mirror away from one of his cufflinks. Two curious sets of eyes were on him, one blue and brown and the other onyx. Shadows arrows peered through the open doorway at the other Todoroki, and Toya couldn't remember the last time he dressed up in front of his little brother. So the surprise was warranted. But God, that little shit could be so nosy. I, the oldest and mightiest, have somewhere to be tonight, he stated simply. He sounded confident, far more confident than he felt, really. Toya's insides were a ball of nerves that reminded him when he was very little, but he couldn't control his quirk. The way the flames had licked at his cool skin and burned him had spurred him to do better, to be better. And now here he was, feeling the same nervous fire once again. He had plastered 2 scent patches onto the sides of his neck, filling up his entire room with the cool scent of eucalyptus. He was excited and nervous and wished for his little brother, said sibling's boyfriend, to leave him alone. Tried to roll his eyes dramatically, sending the orbs to the back of his skull. You said this morning you didn't have any plans for Christmas. Toy said about clipping his other cufflink to avoid his brother's gaze. He smiled to himself. The look over his lips a telltale of the secret he held. Things change, he offered, shrugging nonchalantly. This could be my year. Who knows? Your year. With you dressing up randomly on Christmas, a couple's holiday, to leave the house just not to come back until tomorrow morning. Shadow's blue and brown unreadable eyes bored holes into his brother's face through the mirror. Toy knew it wasn't that his brother was being malicious. Sometimes Shadow couldn't tell when he was being too intense. He often drove other people away because of his blunt responses and short conversations. When Turquoise met Turquoise, Shadow's eyes narrowed just slightly. It's a date. Last part was a statement. When they caught Toya off guard, he would dressing up for any reason. Any reason at all. It was a holiday. There were plenty of people going out to parties that he knew of as dads to agency, and they would show up in sweatpants and a sweater. Maybe it is a date. Wouldn't you like to know? He liked the way the word fit between his lips and rolled from his tongue all too well. Toy swiftly shook the thought from his head. That wasn't what that was. That's not what Hawks agreed to. And he wasn't going to lead himself on by thinking that was. Okay. Dobby. That boy. Dobby getting ready for his date. First things first. There's something bite the inside of his cheek to keep him saying more. It is, Shoto countered easily. First Big Sis, now you. Toy shook his head and turned to the pair. Alright, I'm not going to argue with you. Get out so I can finish getting ready. Shoto opened his mouth to speak as his brother leaned over to shut the door in his face. The smaller male backed away secretly to not get hit by the door. The click of the door was followed by Toyo turning the lock and securing it. Shoto's grumbling and Hanta's good-natured chuckling could be heard as the two retreated from the room. Once he was alone, Toyo found himself back into the mirror. He was studying his reflection closely. His baby blue dress shirt was pressed expertly, just the way his father had taught him. 2 buttons left open at the top, sans the tie. He noticed the way his shirt stretched over his chest, his pierced nipples prevalent against the fabric. He'd forgotten wearing another shirt beneath it with the knowledge that his black suit jacket would cover most of his chest before and after. His silver and black belt complemented his piercings, and black suit pants completed the look. Toy gave himself a quick once-over before sighing through his nose. He looked like a tryhard. Yeah. He looked like a tryhard. There's no way that Hawks could actually want to meet him. It's just because he didn't have a choice. The letter from the family shouldn't seem so final, too. He shouldn't get his hopes up. Not in the realm of his actual being an actual romantic relationship. Anyway. But he took a private room for the night, so back down wasn't an option. As he was pulling on his suit jacket, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. He touched it all too quickly. Fuck, you're way too eager, he told himself as he checked the notification. This worked. About to head out. Along with the short message was a picture. It was a neck down shot of who Toya presumed to be Hawks himself. The wings in the background confirmed his thought. It was a capture picture for the most part. Feet placed a few inches apart, shoulders relaxed, and outfit on display. The all-black ensemble was least better than his own outfit, Toya thought. He wasn't even sure where to start looking. The sweater was a thin turtleneck and rose up high enough to cover the scent glands around his neck. The jacket he threw on over it matched suit pants lower on his dress, on his body. Dress shoes and a belt with a gold buckle rounded out the look. A gold chain looped around his neck, and the arm holding his phone was accented with a simple yet expensive-looking gold watch. What's his face look like right now? Was the only thought running through Toya's head. He wasn't romantic. At least that's what he told himself. So he immediately thought of the expression the other male may be wearing. A smug smirk, maybe a bit of a glare, the tiniest fraction of a smile. I'm such a sap. Toya groaned inwardly. He opened his face with one hand. Should he return the favor with a photo of his own? Isn't that a bit like teasing? What would Hawk's face look like? Last thought was enough to sway up to strike a pose. Toya leaned away from the mirror to get as much of his body into the shot as he could. The sides of his jacket fell away to reveal the clothed expanse of his chest. Toy saw the raised peaks of his own nipples and piercings through the shirt and smirked at the little silhouettes. He wasn't sure where would he be getting out of sending a picture like this, but the thought of a gold eyes roaming over the picture, even in passing, was all the motivation he needed. He could almost feel the keen gaze grazing over him. It took all of his willpower to try and prevent a tent from rising in his pants. Only, goddamn. Hawks sends fit pic. I be getting horny. Bobby has nipple piercings. Cool. He captured the picture and quickly adjusted himself to ensure minimal visibility and further arousal. After looking over the picture satisfied, he sent it. He pocketed his phone and unbuttoned his jacket, ready to face his fate. The night could make or break his potential. Friendship? He was sure what it was, but he's ready to see what could happen. He was a whirlwind and he's ready to leave. Wallet, check. Phone, check. Keys, check. He checked up on his neck and made sure both of his scent patches were in place. Toy left his room and closed the door behind him. As he passed the living room on his way to the front door, he saw his mother and father. Both of their rookie parents were cuddled up on the couch. Toy could see his father's large arm encompassing his mother's waist with his hands spread over the side of her round stomach. His mother's head was nestled in the crook of Edgy's shoulder. Her opposite small hand was within his, fingers threaded between her husband's. The pleasant scent of cinnamon and jasmine filled the space. It was a common scent at night. Whatever he saw, didn't have to patrol at night or to stay at the office late. Stay late at the office. Angie and Ray both averted their attention from the television to the sun. Both sets of eyes were curious, just like his brothers had been before. I'm going out tonight, but I'll be back. Toy offered, stopping and leaning over back of the couch. Better let them know they have him staying up worried. I will be out with other people, and no, they aren't bad. We'll be in a good part of them too. Latest I'll be back is like 11:30. His parents shared a look. When they both looked back at him, Angie was like, do you know these people? Yes, I do. Fibbled smoothly. Of course, it wasn't until he knew of Hawks. His dad worked with them just many amount of the year, and you'll be putting yourself at risk. It may be a holiday, but crime doesn't take days off. I know, Dad. I promise. I'll be safe. I'll be texting when I get there and when I leave. He chilled softly. The gaze he leveled Toya with hard. That's just how his dad was. His expression didn't mean he was going to say no or yell. He was reserved verbally enough to find it hard to show his kids how much he loved them. There were times when Toya was younger when he could remember doubting both his own abilities and his father's care for his own child. Edgy had been driving Toya to train every day, to the point where his cold-natured body had become injured due to overheating. Ray was shocked by the question when she was asked by quickly to her son. Yeah. Of course your father loved you, sweetie. She had patched up his scrapes, they ate lunch as normal. And she hadn't lied. Whatever had driven Endeavor's persistent training was dialed back once he realized Toya was hurt and doubting his feelings. Later on, Toya knew his mother as likely spoke to his father about it. The training didn't stop, but it grew safer, less intense. A prototype for his hero was made shortly after. He was frequently asked how the suit was, if any adjustments could be made, if he was hurt during and after training. Tigger did not Endeavor's worry as his own form of affection, so he tried to avoid brushing his father off. Instead, he let the question run their course and answered him to the best of his ability. Of course, I didn't mean he didn't have to stress the truth every now and then. They wanted to split the little details right. Fine, his father conceded. Toya felt the expression softened into a smile that could rein it in. Thank you. Toya was already headed to that way when Edgy called after him. Text us to make sure you're not home late. Gotcha. Love you. Bye. Toya was already out the door and shutting him when he finished his goodbye. So, like, my whole thing, like, right now is, like, what's making this, like, hard to read is, like, the switching back and forth between, like, Endeavor, like, 3 different names, Engie, Endeavor, and Father. I wish you pick one. It's like, Terry grew to know his father's worry, Angie's worry, Endeavor's worry. You know, it's just 3 different names. Like, it's hard to, like place, like, the name. Like, Toya, like, it's Dobby. I feel like Dobby should just be his name, but I guess you want to be like real technical. Like if you do give him his actual name, that's just like his nickname. Yeah, it works. But that's one thing. Like his father Endeavor, Angie. Like you get like at least one, maybe two, but all three, it's kind of just jumbles up my brain. They arrived a bit early, only 10 or some minutes, but which was thankful for when he was able to check for the reservation. Those had led him to the back, past the main room of patrons, into a set of small private rooms. The chatter and bustle from the main room was nearly inaudible when they reached the door, and non-existent when they stepped past the threshold. The room was small yet cozy, low lights, dark decor. In natural sense, made it seem like the perfect place for the first meeting. Personal yet professional. As Soy pulled his own chair out and shrugged off his suit jacket, those that two menus up at the table, one on either side. Your witches will be all right with you. Toy nodded as the host bowed out of the room and closed the door. He draped his jacket over the back of the chair and sank to the plush of the cushion. Toy took out his phone and messaged Hawks to tell him that he was already there and to use Toya's family name for the reservation. He started and got to scanning over the menu. Now he was very focused on either way. His brain was far off. All the words on the paper before him were little more than jumbled letters. Yet despite his scrambled mind, his body felt relaxed. With a chuckle, he set the menu aside. He head in hand and scrubbed his face. What the hell had he talked himself into? Just then the locks of the door gave a quiet click. Toy straightened up, fully expecting the waitress to enter the room. Instead, the door was held open, and a head of tousled blonde hair and large crimson wings filled the doorway. He surely looked on television, but it didn't matter. Toy still had to clamp his jaw shut to keep from gaping so wide that it smacked into the table. The man was gorgeous. Far more attractive than the pictures could do him justice. His eyes were piercing, like that of an actual avian predator. Little marks in the corners only accentuated the shimmering gold within his irises. His cheekbones stood high and created contrast against his round cheeks. His nose reminded Toy of a button, and he had a vague urge to gently tap it. His neck looked... Boop! Sorry. His neck looked slender beneath the fabric of his sweater. From there, Toy's eyes were traveling further fast than he expected them to. He ate up the other with his eyes. Hawk shrugged off his suit jacket and sat down. Can I get both of you anything to drink? Can't even notice the waitress. Her voice sounded back to earth, and he nodded for Keiko to give his orders first. Toy flashed Keiko a small smile and wanted to say that he was more than welcome to order whatever he wanted. Unreadable eyes met his as the other pro spoke. Just water is fine. Even his voice was better in person. All right, and for you, the waitress prompted, shattering Toy's thoughts once again. Water's fine for me too. As she dipped her head and left the room, there was silence. Keiko pulled out his own chair, and Toy watched him. With the door click, Toy was stripping over him, so to speak. Well, I'll be damned. Yeah. Dobby crushing. Oh, wait. Talks to parents, and they wish him a safe and good night. Now, Dobby crushing hard as fuck over Fox's outfit. Overall looks. Date, Danny, Dobby. Date night starts off silent but comfortable. And have fun. Okay, so that's my thing is like the multiple names between like all these people switching right like that. I'm trying to get some people. Dobby, I'm getting is Toya and stuff like that. The thing with Seto or Sero and Shoto is like siblings and their boyfriend. Obviously, it's whatever. Also, the whole scent thing. I get like I'm trying to like think about it. I'm like people have scents, which is why they wear scent patches and shit like that to hide how they smell. I'm not really familiar with these kind of things, like the smell of like amethyst and lilies and shit like that. Like I'm not really get it, but I kind of get it in terms of like pheromones and like animals, like how some animals like discrete like certain scents to let know like other animals that they're ready or something like that. I guess, but I think that's all I kind of know about that. I don't know about heat suppressants. Heat, maybe like horny suppressants. Is that what it is? Because like bunnies and heat and shit like that, I think. But yeah, that's chapter 5. Or chapter 6. Let's find out what happens at the date. Maybe the toy guy isn't so bad after all. Alternatively known as Keigo is very reserved, finds it hard to trust others, and has to learn to do so, even a little bit. I'm also nervous about this chapter, like very nervous, but I kind of like how it turned out, so I'm going to post it now. Here you are. Fried chicken, kinda. You like fried chicken? I show this video else place like this, but thanks for the privacy. Keigo's route was cool and smooth. almost like ice. He mentally scolded himself for coming off so cold when he needed the Alpha to agree with him, or at least like him. 1 second, let me. Yeah, a little parched. Mysterious turquoise eyes glitched to him. The little smile gave nothing away, which is the exact opposite of what Keiko needed. Alternative styles were typically his go-to, seeing as he'd taken all of his piercings once he turned 20. Out all of his piercings once he turned 20. But Todoroki made it work. The silver not only accentuated his features, but Keiko was sure that the little bars on his cheeks gave him dimples and draw attention to the specific parts of his face. As his eyes wandered lower, he noticed the obvious scent patches at Toya's neck. That was surprising. There were a time where an alpha had one of them in his presence. Plus, it didn't seem to bother him. He was quickly reminded of the suppressive patch at his own neck because of the course his 2 weeks off started soon. Toya seemed so relaxed, so in his element, shoulders soft, body language broadcasted for the making to speak his mind. Endeavor didn't speak about his children much. When he did, it was always about their achievements. They're good, they're done. Keiko wasn't sure if taking another pro hero on a date could be considered an achievement or not. Was this a date? With a deep breath, he cast the thought from his mind. This wasn't a date. Like a mandated meeting to get to know the alpha he may be linked to for the rest of his life, but he could make the most of it. Toya's smile shifted, as though he wanted to say something but was rethinking it. The alpha's face had been visible only moments before, and Keiko thankful to put them away. As much as he hated to admit it, Keiko's tiny, neglected Omega loved the subtle display. The blonde decided to go with whatever came to mind first to get the thought from his head. You don't have to filter what you say, I mean, I won't. Red brows arched in apparent surprise. The subsequent smirk gave away that the alpha was somewhat pleased with the comment. Well, since we're being honest, I'm sure most people don't know about you, and I was pretty sure you don't want to talk about that with a lot of people around. Plus, my family can be a little intense when we bring new people around. His family. As though Endeavor won't stare at him in utter shock when he finds out either way. But it's not our family's getting made, it isn't. Toya continues leaning his upper body back in the seat. The question shocked Keiko enough for him to have a school suppression. Had Toya's letter been as blinding as his? I just want to know how you feel about the situation. He'd had plenty of time to think about it. He felt fury, disappointment, and defeat. Fury had the power that decided what he'd be doing with his life and time. Disappointment at himself in the situation that got so bad that he didn't have a chance to fix it. Then defeat at the fact that he had to comply. He could comply and have an active hero license or get revoked. Join the few underground heroes left and pretend he enjoyed making a difference that way. He didn't know Toya yet, not well enough to say they trust him. There were a few other options left. Either he could tell the truth or he could lie. And he'd done enough lying. It's complicated. The best I can give you is that it isn't my choice. I didn't really expect to have a mate so soon. Toya nodded, seemingly in understanding. Keiko didn't assume that the alpha would know how it is to be told that he mated someone. Alphas had more time to find their mates, so it would not have been surprised Keiko if it simply framed him as a potential match. Someone that Toya could choose to spend the rest of his life with, or however long, on paper. Despite how that irked Keiko so, he knew it wasn't his alpha's fault. Plus, he didn't know what it could have been to said to Toya. The way he mentioned them getting married with so much finality had him feuding at the family association. Not Toya. He could remind himself of that as he formulated his response. He wanted to be honest. Maybe his honesty could give him some more with a man like this. Long story short, Keiko started, it's either this or I lose my hero license. Toya's brow arched slightly. Keiko wasn't sure if he was surprised by his honesty or the crock of shit the government had come up to pass the law. The mom picked at the cuff of his sweater, keeping his eyes on the other. He couldn't afford to screw this up, but he could feel his anxiety creeping up at the back of his neck. The ghosting touch of heat caressed his nape. He forced himself to take a breath. He was grateful he at least remembered to put on scent patches and take his blockers. They're almost small, and he didn't want to overcome the other with his putrid scent. It's a tall order, he chuckled, to save somebody who, screwed up on their own. I'm sure whatever they told you was different. Toya seemed pensive. His gaze was so intense. Is that how people felt when he watched them? Being able to feel his blood roiling beneath his skin was a less than pleasurable sensation. Toya rubbed at his mouth with one of his hands, and Keiko was able to see the tattoo on the back of his hand. He wasn't quite able to make out the design. There was more comforting than staring at those bright eyes with an idea of what Alpha was thinking. A soft knock as the door opened. The waitress was back, startling them both into a short silence. A pitcher of water and 2 glasses were set between them. As she filled the glass, she took their orders. Toya ordered with ease, and Keiko hadn't even looked at the menu. He snatched up the paper smoothly and scanned it for anything that sounded remotely appealing. As soon as he found something, spelled out the name. And 1 bottle of warm sake, please. Sake. When he placed the menu on the table, the 2 locked eyes. Of course, I'll be right back with your drinks. Keiko arched his brow once the door shut again. Toya held up his hands. They were larger than Keiko's, reminiscent of Endeavor's. You're talking about the government is trying to take out the number 2 hero's license, and you don't need a drink? Keiko swung to the other, but they acquiesced and looked away, allowing a slight smile. It had been a while since he'd had a drink. Sake was better than a lot of other options. He got through the hard part of coming clean, but his skin still crawled with the thought of a very real thought of Toya saying no. His mind wandered for a moment, and he found himself thinking negative thoughts. He wasn't helpless, so why the hell did he keep feeling like he was? He noticed Toya leaning closer and placing his hand on Keiko's side of the table. His eyes came back to the turquoise ones that reminded him of the sky on a clear day. You couldn't see any traces of Toya lying with them. But the blonde also didn't understand what else swam within the depths. He couldn't get a good read on the other, and maybe that was making him anxious. Perhaps the anxiety was palpable, noticeable to the Alpha. Clay spoke up a moment later, a playful tone in his voice and a smile curling his lips. I believe you, so if it takes a couple of Samson's signatures, that's fine. Just name him anyway. It was Keiko's turn to raise his eyebrows in surprise. That's all it took. He thought about asking the other if his urgency was getting through. He squandered away enough time as it was, and he didn't have much more of it to sit and joke about the situation. If this was a joke, Keiko took in a deep breath, and the heat of his neck having spread to his shoulders as well. At least his wings were kept in check. He was himself sending weird bird messages to the others, his unkept feathers. But in all seriousness, I get that wherever this is, it's comes up positively messed up. That shouldn't be happening at all. I really don't mind signing a few papers after getting to know you a little first. Sincerity shown, if for a fraction of a moment, in those blue eyes. Keiko wanted to believe him, really, truly. He felt as though this were a real option. But he'd been let down, lied to, and pulled around by the government and other officers for so long that he couldn't let himself lie back in the safety of the net that had been handed to him. That he doesn't indulge, just enough for him to feel like maybe it was true. Maybe he could trust his Alpha. Okay, so date happened. They got to know each other a bit more. Keigo is surprised that Oya is now. The signed papers.
It looks like over 60.
Oh.
For somebody lying over there. You know?
No.
Sun's out everywhere except for over there. There's a black cloud over
No.
So, see, I'm glad you're full. That's good, Christopher.
No.
If you need it, I got a salad in here. So
thank you for that. I appreciate.
You know, just for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm looking out for you.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I know, because remember you told me last time, you said, you're not too fond of food. Do you remember?
Yeah. That was my sister. That was Maria.
No, your voices sound different.
No. You know how Maria gets when she gets to the rugby in her, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It starts to get her voice get deeper.
Yeah, that's you. So to help you with the rugby, I think you should, have green grass and turkey salad. I know. But you told me you already ate. No, so you said this out. You full. I thought, is there any more left?
There's still a package on there left.
No, the only reason I'm asking because I just bought a few.
Oh yeah, we only have like one left, but yeah.
Why? Who put hot links on the thing?
Mom also brought hot links. But I think she's doing that for her. Yeah, Mom brought hot links, but she said it was for like her food thing. That she's doing.
I don't call nobody every except for y'all eat my special every good hot links. You have to beat everything.
No.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. No. So you about to go on the trip and everything. So when you go on the trip, you got to spend $200 on my Christmas gift. What's going on?
I get.
I decided this. I'm gonna give you my list. $200.
$200? Yeah. $200? Okay.
Because this might be perfect because I can go garage selling when you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I gotta talk to your mama. We gonna have a whole week. Go up there and do some garage selling.
Yeah, I got some Christmas stuff up here.
There's a white box with a game controller.
Oh no, that's coming with me. Yeah.
Oh no.
That's coming with me.
Oh no, it won't fit your carry-on.
Oh yeah, well.
No.
Yeah.
No, you put them drawers in there. Take them fill the whole thing.
Draws?
Yeah. Them stank drawers in there.
No.
You gonna
No.
be, they ain't gonna be able to fill nothing in there.
No.
I don't think air's gonna fit in there.
No. I got room.
Oh no. So we'll start me and Mama start garage selling. So that when you come home, your room would be a lot neat and clean because it'd be empty.
No.
Huh?
There's 30 chapters, so. So if I started a WoW is crushed with this top tier personality. No, so I want to name this chapter The Feels so badly. But I didn't, to keep with the theme, lol. Sorry the chapter was a day late. I have some live stuff going on, but I will persevere. And you, thanks for reading. Of course, Jay. You know I got you. Okay, let's keep reading. And I said, hell no, I'm not fishing it out. You get it. Hawk's turtle as Toya's lame recounting of Shota's surprisingly needy tolerance was beyond satisfying. He tried to avoid being weird by keeping the conversation going and making sure that it didn't seem like he was just staring at the other, because he was watching. He just said that to a child in need? That's not very heroic of you. He's the one going to UA. You think if the little shit dropped something in the toilet, he'd be able to get it himself? And the banter, God, he loved the way that the wires and cables jaw seemed to loosen the moment he agreed to. Whatever he agreed to. Toya understood that he agreed by something that he would be able to easily take it back. Seriously, in the way he'd been helping a deserving hero continue to make his dream a reality. By getting made it to him on paper. That was a thought. It was one that was stuck replaying in his head. Maybe it was because it seemed too surreal. He wasn't sure he could trust himself to think that was actually happening. He took another sip of his still warm sake. His eyes found themselves drawn to the Omega across the table. With his eyes downcast, long lashes framed those piercing eyes. They were so blonde that they were nearly translucent. He didn't want to miss a single detail, from how elegantly Keiko's fingers fit around the small bowl as he brought it to his lips to the way his jaw shifted, and he always looked away from the table when he drank. And when he laughed, his smaller fangs glittered in the light, perfectly white as the rest of his teeth. It was like watching a bird of prey and more akin to watching a hummingbird or a swan, a creature whose beauty made him forget to breathe at times. Cold eyes returned to obviously looked away, pretending he had just been studying the Omega. In his peripheral vision, he saw a little smile curling Keiko's lips. It's like you're wonderful with children. I'd be great with children. Yeah, I'm a natural, Terry responded. His kid felt electric, like he was waiting for another response. Instead, he smiled back. All those shit spell of him, excited to meet the newest one. A blonde eyebrow cricked at the statement. For a moment, the two stared at each other in silence. Trying to see what he said was weird, but he replied in his head. A laugh moment was the one that spilled into his words. He spoke. My parents are having another kid, not me. So there'll be 5 of us come March. The look of horror that flashed through Hawk's eyes had Toy covering his laugh with a last swallow of his drink. It was a lot, even for his dad. There were times where one of them would get in trouble, and naturally one of them would have to stand cycling of other Todoroki's name before getting to their actual name. All 4 of them had gotten so used to it that he just stated their names at the beginning to avoid the mix-up. Tony didn't know if Hawks had a big family. He never heard anything about the man being close to his parents. He was curious, if anything. Knowing whatever the media could tell him wasn't much, he leaned forward and sat his cup on the table, choosing to down a more serious expression as he switched topics. But enough about my family. You know my dad and brother. That's more than enough for right now. Is there anything I need to know about your folks? Toya couldn't quite pin the expression on Keiko's face when he asked his question. His face was aloof, but his eyes screamed for the topic to be dismissed. We're not close. Dad wasn't really there, and my mom, I guess. I don't see her very often. No siblings, and I don't know if my parents have any family that's alive, so it's just me. That was surprisingly simple. It also sounded rather lonely. Perhaps he had a lot of friends to make up for it. What about friends? A little chuckle. Does Dad have friends? Toya rolls out the mouth. You made your point, hotshot. Hawk squinted at the nickname. Something like fire appeared in his eyes. He knocked back the remainder of his drink. Bob reached to refill his cup, but he was too slow. Blonde had a small pitcher in his hand, was rolling both of the cups as he spoke. I have friends. So most of them I've made while collaborating on missions or at hero events. So I suppose you can call them work acquaintances. They have their goals, their jobs, agencies, and... He paused, taking a deep breath and set the pitcher down. I have mine. That's not so bad, is it? The fire blazed on his guided irises, but it was so cold. A test of determination that had surrounded his career and his goals, something that he was always asked questions about in interviews, something that he'd practiced for answers for. But that wasn't the answer he always gave. Usually he laughed to something like, of course I do. What he confessed may have been what he always wanted to say, the clarity he gave others to his life where people assumed they knew what was happening all along. That must have been frustrating, having people assuming they knew everything about him, being a hero both on and off the clock. I suppose not, he responded. He took his cup and glanced down into it. The opaque liquid made tiny waves tilted this way and that. Having a big family makes me think it gets a little lonely living like that. When you look up, Keiko was drowning the entire cup of sake he just downed for himself. He just poured for himself. Toy's eyes wide, and then he reached out with his free hand to get the other's attention as Pickle poured himself another drink. Oh, hold on, he hissed. Fear's eyes met his, and his words caught in his throat. Maybe it had taken a bit for the alcohol to hit him, but Hawk stared at him with the dark, predatory eyes and a faint pinkness to his cheeks. He was still very coherent, only enough to expertly pour his own drink and motion to Toya's full glass. The glint in his eyes warned Toya of pits within the others that could swallow him whole. That face, it was a trap. Something gorgeous enough to lure him in and keep him in there. Before he could speak again, Keiko knocked back into the couple. Those eyes focused on his again, and the alpha felt his mouth go dry. Well, gonna catch up? They make it just maybe the death of him. Okay, so chapter 7. Starts off with Hawk's family business is very rough on the edges. Dad not there, and mom kinda question mark. Friends question mark. Acquaintances. Probably work buddies at best. He tries his best to drink his problems away. Drink his memories even far away. In the socket. The Omega may be the death of him. Omega being Ox. Right, I think so. Ox is the Omega. I think. And Dobby, yeah, the Omega might just be the death of him. He's the Omega. What's Hawks is the Omega, so is Dobby. Dobby's the Alpha? Alpha Dobby? Question mark? And no. Number 8. He didn't want to be at the office, but it's better than writhing in bed to try to sleep off his hangover. It's going to be a double feature because I feel like indulging myself in posting 2 chapters. I'll try to make the names of the chapters a little symbolic, still figuring that out. Anyway, part 1. Sir, you look energized. Are you talking to every villain known to man? Even after our early morning patrol shift? Keiko asked in response to Tsukiyomi's unfinished comment. He gave the other smile despite how it made his head pound. The last thing Hawks remembered was him asking for another bottle of sake, switching toys to finish the bottle with him. The Alpha had a limit. Imagine that. Keiko hated wasting food and drink. Oh, yeah, the Alpha. Keiko hated wasting food and drink, especially alcohol, which is why he didn't drink often. He himself to what he could only imagine to be a murmuring stupor. He ended up in his own nest, totally undressed, his scent patch halfway peeled off. The overly sweet, contented scent. Concentrated scent of citrus lingered in the room, and his clothes were crumpled just outside his nest. Luckily, he woke up in his last alarm and rushed to get ready. He didn't check his phone until he was locking the door to leave. A single message appeared on the screen: have been received late at night. Meet up today to get the paperwork filed out. The man was actually serious. Unless their meeting up was a ploy for him to kidnap and take him to the basement where no one could hear him, he wouldn't have a part of his year's license if the paperwork went through in time. And there was that issue. Well, took him and trailed off. He averted his gaze, like not wanting to tell Hawks just how tired he looked. Even Dark Shadow didn't make eye contact with him, but that was for seeing how she was looking everywhere else in the room. I don't look great, kid. I'm just messing with you. As it meant to Tsugimi turned questioning eyes on his mentor. The kid really was a crow, pierced in almost every way. He should know how to say it. Keiko felt the other eyes on him despite no words leaving his lips. I should have cut up in paperwork. You know, just stuff, nothing to worry about. He felt a dismissive wave of a gloved hand. That's far from the truth, but he can let his mentee, let his secretly meeting with his classmate's older brother. More importantly, he continued, I can't believe they're having all of you meet with us the day after Christmas. Not that we're doing much anyway. We were informed of it being half day, but they also gave us the option of staying on as long as the pro heroes will have us. Keiko rolled his eyes. Okay. So ooh. He rolled his eyes and face away from the young hero. He wasn't sure how he felt about UA and the Hero Commission working together to push the students back out in the world right before the new year. But he knew he wouldn't be keeping Tokiyomi long. The patrol shift only lasts 3 hours, and the sun was still shining high in the sky. Again, I'd have something else he'd rather be doing. He gathered your reports on his desk and studied them out by tapping them against the desk. I appreciate you being here, kid, but you're more than welcome to go home. I really don't have much for you unless you think filing paperwork is going to get you any closer to being here than you are now. When he peeked over his shoulders, Hawk saw the pensive look on Tsukima's face and appeared disappointment how Dark Shadow drooped at the sound of such a boring task. The blonde's lips curled to a smile, waving away. Go on, always are meant to be spent working, even if it is on an internship. Well, if you insist. Tokiyomi's pensive gaze turned slightly hopeful as he watched his mentor. Hawk shooed them away with a hand, and the two hesitantly made their exit. Keiko made his way around his desk and plopped down in the seat. Then went aside and sat the sizable stack of papers atop the wooden surface. He didn't want to spend his birthday filing patrol and his reports to the commission with so much else on his plate. He set to work on the pile, flipping easily through pages. He looked quickly fall into the room that had him signing papers until the sun hung low in the sky. Few more reports had been brought to his desk since the morning, but it was more than he could handle before the end of the day. He instantly scratched one of the scent patches on his neck. Quick calculating the days until his hit next heat. A week, max, which will put him dangerously close to the first of the year. Of course, worst parts of being a maid came in the best times of the year. He tried to put the thought from his mind when his phone vibrated in his pocket. He's going to the commission. Most people didn't call him anyway since he rarely spoke to anyone outside the small circle. He has the screen and saw Toya's message name at the top of it. What? The Mega eyed his phone but said to his desk nonetheless. He was ready to slip the answer button to the top of the screen. Go for Ox. Okay. A bit of a shorter one. Go Ox. Ooh, go for Ox. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Okay. More kudos. Every kudos. A bit on the shorter side. Okay. Doesn't think his plan will go over well. Until it does. Part 2, the next chapter is going to be so spicy, so prepare for that. The chapter next chapter, so chapter 10. Ooh, spicy. I know this light a little bit. There we go. Damn, he answered fast. Toy skeptically glanced his phone. The on the other hand, the phone sounded bored. Maybe a little peeved if he listened harder. If his skin weren't so thick, he may have been affected by it. Maybe he took it to stride. Plus, he couldn't help how cute he found Keigo's voice. Todoroki turned his focus. Then Todoroki turned his focus to the sink of dishes in front of him to distract himself as he responded. Sorry, Hawks, I was looking for Keigo this time. The name rolled so easily from his tongue that he wanted to say again. There was wrestling on the end of the phone as he plugged the drain and flicked the hot water to run. A beat of silence passed, where neither of them spoke. Toy focused on the filing sink as he waited for the other male to respond. Hey, what's up? Toy smacked the water absentmindly. It wasn't that Keigo sounded distracted, per se. He sounded different, like something was bothering him. I just wanted to see if my message got this morning, if you got my message this morning. There's some forms we're gonna have to file out, and it'd probably be easier for us to just get together and do them at the same time. That's what he scripted for himself to say. Thankfully, no one had been in the house to hear him practice the line for nearly 15 minutes. What he thought of saying at first sounded much more like, I like you and want to spend more time with you because last night it wasn't enough. And as soon as possible. The water was warm and high enough for him to start doing dishes, so he set about his task to distract himself from these thoughts. The fact that the maid was already busy waiting for another call told him he should hurry up and say what he needed to. We've been here, my family's out, but it doesn't really matter where we are. We go to the library or something. Not sure how many private libraries there are around here. Most are like the university libraries. I don't want to risk walking to Mustafa's university to have my picture taken. Of course he wouldn't. There were other options so he knew, but he stayed silent. The sound of splashing water and rustling papers filled his mind. He wanted to get to know the guy, but there seemed to be a thick wall between them, far more vast than the physical distance between them. That hurt. Todoroki was never the bleeding heart. He never pinned after anyone. He never really wanted anything besides more body modifications to get stronger. And for a while, he was content with living that way. He'd been okay with waking up every morning, getting dressed, playing the second chair of prodigal son like he's redialed himself to after Shoto was born. Yet, in the moment he was speaking to Keigo, he couldn't let it go. He didn't want this arrangement to be just that, a farce to the world conjured up by two distant people. With his own rice bowl in his hand, Toyo took a breath and willed himself to speak his next word. I mean, my room's on the second floor. No one's really out of the night around here. And there that one. And there he went. Implying the number 2 here could sneak into his room tonight if he wanted to. Could have been worse, at least that's what he told himself. The extent of speaking at Chip went off piece by piece. Maybe it wasn't the best idea. His parents were out, though, for some dinner they scheduled months in advance. And while his other sister and next brothers were out on dates, not so was staying at the university, he'd probably spend the night. Maybe he should have saved it as all option. Sure. Give me like 2 hours to finish your reports and I'll head over. What? Toy's heart leapt triumphantly into his throat. He struggled to clear his throat before he responded. Yeah, sure, that works. I'll order some food. Anything you want in particular? Yakitori, thighs and wings. And please don't order any alcohol. Guess I was joking, but Toy wasn't going to go against the request. He was far too excited that the meal would be at his house, in his room, alone. Maybe he should pinch himself. Gotcha. I'll let him in a little while. Just let me know when you're on your way. Sure. See you. Toy watched his phone and the other man hang up. His hand was still moving absentmindly in his rice bowl, scrubbing the clean nothingness within it. He couldn't help but smile that stretched his lips and the elated chuckle that escaped from them. He was definitely going to make this one a date. Oh yeah, throw a little kudos. You real kudos here? Fuck you. I want more kudos. Yeah. Oh yeah. Secure the date. In his room. Bow, check up. Bow, wow. He's gonna make sure this is an actual date. Chapter done. My nose. I've been having the sniffles the past like week, and so sometimes my nose just like gets dry, and so like it starts getting clogged up, which is why like you see you mess on my nose a lot. So if you see me like scratching and my nose is a little bit red, because like shit gets annoying, gets itchy. Kate wants to finish work and go, but his body and mind have other plans for him. Chapter on time. I want to write more, but I thought about the series and know who I'm writing about. Anyways, there'll be a lot of more smut to come, LML. Anyway, enjoy. Kiko finished his paperwork within an hour. Of course, having done so much paperwork before, he would need the entire 2 hours just to sign off on reports. He just wanted a little extra time, anything to get to himself he needed it. Kiko shut off his jacket and hung it in the locker. With work all done for the day, he let his mind wander to other things. Losing his license was near the front of his mind, but an idea one he hadn't exactly fathomed until then was how eager Toya seemed to make plans. Of course, it was only the second time they'd been meeting up. He sat on the locker room bench and quickly untied his boots to continue to mull over the thought. He'd been the one to make all the plans before. He'd surprise his dates, take them to little places they'd never seen or heard of, little holes in the walls where he went because the food was good and nobody bothered him. Half the time, all he had to do was smile, show he'd been listening to whatever they were saying, and they were begging him for whatever came next. It was a lifestyle. Not one he could ever get behind, because once he remembered that he was busy property of the Hero Association, how much he paid to them or how much he wanted to be around them didn't matter. Because try as he might, he couldn't be around or be present as he wanted to be once things got serious. And usually that took time. He wondered then what would happen next. His pants came next. By the time he got out of his heavy clothes, a warm wave started in his stomach. He stilled immediately. Over the years, he come to understand what it felt like when he got close to his heats. What he got was pushing it, but it wasn't abnormal. Socks and leggings went after. He was practically piling the dirty clothes up in the bottom of his locker just so he could not deal with them. His sculpted arms flexed as he unzipped and worked his way out of his leotard. His eyes roved over the curve of his shoulders, his chest, and finally down to his waistband of his underwear. He always disliked this part. Keiko truly resented his Omega assassin, well because of the connotation that it brought. The way he was supposed to be so helpless and let every alpha take the lead. He rolled his eyes hard at the idea. He hooked something to the waistband and quickly ripped them downward. His eyes fell to the divot between his legs. The well-groomed, sleek patch of blonde hair there widened slightly at the base, crowning his sex. It was far from unattractive. He took his time preening and making sure it looked just as good as the rest of him. Hell, sometimes he could even admit it was cute. Maybe even sexy if he turned the right way and lifted his leg a bit. But more often than not, he looked at the soft curve and pink flesh to think of how it didn't suit him. His entire life, he just let his partners think it was a genetic anomaly. That him having an anatomy that was indicative of a highly fertile Omega body just somehow happened. It was no mistake. In the times when his body told him it was time for him to screw for the sake of his family name, the weightless stomach-clenching feeling of his and partner's organizing made him dislike it so much more. He wasn't different from any other Omega. He wasn't the master of his own fate. Another wave of heat unfurled in his stomach, causing his fist to clench to his side. He could get rid of it, for now at least. Keiko took his toiletries from his locker and snatched a towel from the rack lining the opposite wall. Let his mind wander, and he padded towards the showers on the opposite side of the room. He thought about Toya. The idea of the alpha made his stomach clench and twist. That irked him. He didn't like how his body was so easily accommodated to the thought of the other man. The goal wasn't for anything to be between them, at all. This was his shot. But while he knew that, his body and mind were collaborating against him. He secured his towel on the rack outside the stall, and Toya's caddy went on a little hook within the shower. He tried to put Toya out of his mind and worked for a moment. Keiko got the shower, got the water on, and warmed up before another wave hit him. That time, right on his core. The Omega within him whined at his resistance. The spot between his legs throbbed as though it had its own heartbeat. He bit down on his lip, short fangs threatening to break the skin. Fucking hell. He tried his damage to ignore it while the warm water pelted his body. There had to be other things to focus on. He racked his brain for any answer. Work, chores, anything. But every thought led him back to the eldest Todoroki, to the planes of his chest beneath the shirt that acted as little more than a sheet, to those fangs when he smiled, to that too smooth, too perfect voice. His Omega writhed in pleasure, waiting for the moment Keiko would crack. Denying his instincts often left his Omega worryingly overpowering when he did everything eventually indulge it. The water beating on his skin only made it worse. So much worse. Just once wouldn't be so bad, would it? The Omega within whined loudly, so much so that the sound tore from Keiko's throat. With his instinct needed him to need the alpha. His inner self conjured sinful sensations. Warm breath on his neck, a strong hand on his back, fabric against his ass, and pressure at his hips met his in the erect organ beneath it fit perfectly against his rear. An instant citrus swirled around him, the warm water opening his nose even more to his own pathetic wanton scent. It ran down his body and multiplied the warmth that thronged through his veins. Keiko leaned his head against the wall, breathed breaths coming in pants, as his mind swarmed with thoughts of the alpha. His wings pressed close to his body to avoid the spray. He was already roused to the point that he could smell it mingling with the scent. There was no way he could leave the agency like that. All that was 8 scent blockers. His chest heaved as he attempted to calm his thumping heart. With a string breath, he felt his sex pulse again. Just once. The thought echoed in his mind until he just didn't want to hear anymore. He'd do it to get it over with and get on with his life. That's what he told himself. Keiko turned to spray in front of him and his back wings pressed against the wall. He was silent when he remembered that it had been months since he'd even tried to pleasure himself. It wasn't like he'd forgotten how to. One hand came to his thigh, sliding up the smooth skin that dampened the east. Goosebumps rose on his flesh. He trailed higher and higher towards his core. His Omega waited with bated breath as his fingers dipped into the soft skin between his thighs and pelvis. Soft hair met purposeful fingers before Keiko let his hand glide lower. He hadn't realized how swollen his neglected clit was until he felt it beneath his fingers. The single stroke had him arching his back and nearly crying out. He balled his opposite hand to a fist, sank into his fingers to suppress the sounds of whine leap from his throat. The engorged nub, in desperate need of more friction, twitched against his hand. His breath came just as rapidly as before. He just slid his fingers over his slipped lips. He was soaked, and the sensation of him finally pleasuring himself made his Omega far too happy. The pitched groan that escaped his throat was far too loud to be concealed by his hand and echoed within the locker rooms. Quickly coated his fingers with his own slick. He took a breath and attempted to relax his abdomen for what was to come. He brought his lips with his slick digits, thankful for the swift entrance. 2 fingers glided into him and pressed into his walls as his palm created more friction against his clit. Keiko sat still his hand to become accustomed to the pressure threatening to push him over the edge. He was so fucking sensitive from ignoring his own needs for so long. He started moving his fingers as soon as he thought he may be ready. His fingers curled and he pulled them out a fraction of an inch, his palm shining with his arousal, before he punched it back in. His palm caressed his clit and caused a bolt of lightning to shoot up his spine. He found a pace rather quickly, trying to keep himself from desperately coming so quickly, but his brain fogged as he panted with need, and rational thoughts were cast aside as his Omega pumped more and more images into his mind. He pictured Toya in a much similar position, his cock in hand and not swelling as he worked his length. His Omega told him he wanted that cock in his mouth, even if he meant he'd choke. He saw white hair clenched in fistfuls as Toya's tongue drove deep into the Omega's neat cunt, showing shocking blue eyes slid upward to meet Keiko's tear-blued, cold gaze. Then the side of the same cock resting between Keiko's legs. The images were what the boar-horny male needed. He rocked against his hand more forcefully as the tide rose against him. As if for moving in, he was mumbling, but even he could tell that it was the orgasm sounded into him. The punch of that orgasm made his knees buckle and his mind turned to television static. His entire body was full of fire that coursed through him in the purpose of turning his bones to jelly. Time meant nothing to him at that moment. His mostly limp body leaned against the wall as he rode out the way as little shudders overcame him, making his body twitch before he decided he had to be done. He pulled his fingers from his dripping sex with the final shiver and pushed himself from the wall with his other hand. Spray covered his body again, this time letting him enjoy how empty his mind was. He let out a quiet, trembling sigh once he could think again. He'd caught his breath and had set about getting clean when he was finally able to recall what he'd been saying. A hot blush darkened his entire face. He set about scrubbing his body with newfound vigor. Okay. Chapter done. There you go. Got split. And he know how to use it. How to please him. Pictured. Oh yeah. And positions. Various positions. And chapter done. Chapter 11. Kudos. What the fuck you mean I left kudos? I didn't leave kudos. You don't know who I did. Until I can't wait for his not boyfriend to come over. God bless, I want to make this chapter smut so badly. Caution thrown to the wind and all, but I want to take it slow, LL. Anyway, here's Toya being a housewife. Enjoy. Yeah. Hey, fuck it. You know what I mean? Fuck it. Toya spent the majority of his early afternoons readying the entire house. He figured that Keiko would only be in his room since they ran the risk of his family seeing him if he were out and about, but he wanted everything to be as close as possible. He thoroughly cleaned it in a sibling shared bathroom, throwing towels and laundry baskets that he sure to be grabbed over later. He sprayed his room with scent neutralizer and washed his bedsheet, comforter, and blanket. Everything else just needed to be placed. He brought out a low table he hadn't really used since high school and set it up in the middle of the room along with the forms he printed from his computer. He ordered food and started brewing tea while after Keiko sent his on the way text. So he couldn't stop his heart from leaping into his throat every time he thought about the other one being in his room. He was so anxious, and he felt like he had a lot of chances to convince the Omega that he wanted something more than a lie. But he didn't want to be overbearing. Regardless of how he presented his feelings, Keiko had every right to reject him if he wanted, and that would be okay. True. Because for him, he's just like, at the end of the day, one reason why he's like even like entertaining this is because his hero license be taken away, but also a mutual interest in each other. We didn't want that at all. The doorbell chimed as he finished setting up the 2 teacups stringing on his bed. Fishing his wallet from his pocket, he darted down the stairs. He wanted to set up to be perfect, and he needed to hurry. He locked the door and swung it open wide enough to see inside. The delivery room was quick but pleasant while exchanging his food for his money. She gave him his change, and he hurriedly thanked her before bolting back upstairs and disassembling the delivery package. He was nearly finished laying everything out when there was a soft knock at his window. Toy's head snapped towards the sound. He finished set up and set aside the bag for their disposable skewers. He crossed the room to the window and latched to pull it open. Hey. He greeted him, hovering out the window. His sneakers were in hand, ready to slide into the room as soon as he was given the okay. He was in simple light wash joggers and t-shirt, which weren't sinful at all. But Hawks was wearing normal clothes. Toy loved it. He gave his relaxed smile as possible. Hey, come in. He stepped back and gave the other hero wide enough breath to slip in. He placed a pair of slippers in front of the windowsill, letting the Omega slip to them as leader. Toya breathing consciously, and his inhale was caught in his throat. Citrus had something yet sweet, yet powerful, wafting its way into his nostrils. It was muted, a soft scent that seemed as though they were farther away. Could have made him absolutely melt. Was it cologne? His eyes darted at Keigo, and Toya's little neck was covered in it like his own. That was his scent. Toya sealed himself and took in his lungful. At the second time, the scent traveled straight to his head, swirling about. This was citrus oranges, and the sweet part had to be topped with spice. It was comforting in an alarmingly simple way. But beneath it, there was something else. Something that made his alpha growl and struggled to hold himself back. Where do you want me to put my shoes? Let me get them. Get the black and gold sneakers, tried not to rush, made his way to the shoe rack. He made his way to the shoe rack in the entrance. Goddamn, I can't goddamn read. His row had one box left since he didn't want or wear any shoes anyway. He sneakers into the box, nearly sprinted back upstairs. He wasn't obsessive or possessed, but he knew that sense surrounding him again. Now, once he got back, he got himself comfortable, sitting cross-legged at the low table. The forms were being shuffled through with little glances to what he needed filled out. His eyes didn't seem to miss anything. Toya admired that, how meticulous he was without seeming to care too much. All his little ducks were in a row, even after the deck up. Those girls' eyes lifted and caught Toya's gaze immediately. This all of it? Toya nodded as he sank to sit at the Omega's left. He leaned his back against the bed. He noticed the window was closed and latched, and the cones had been drawn. Yeah, other than that, I think we need our birth certificates and passports. Toya smiled as well as he could while inhaling Omega's positively intoxicating scent. It was better than... Thank you. It was better than any alcohol like any drug he had tried on that side of the Pacific. It made his mind useless mush and drove the desire to bury his face in Hawk's neck and never move. We turn in whenever we want and get sent off. No big fuss or anything. Yeah. Keigo's simple sound of agreement. Although not comfortably being able to take this work. Keigo glanced at the papers again, looked at the little boxes and tiles. So, is that easy? The question seemed like a joke. Toya arched his brow and turned his entire body to face the other. He was cursed as to what he meant, but he also wanted to be able to look at the other's face. His hands, his chest as it rose and fell with his even breathing. He looked so angelic and beautiful and... my... oh. His alpha was locking at the edges of his senses, throwing little words and thoughts to push Toya to action. He felt his face swell with the need to nibble and bite at the Omega's exposed scent glands. His eyes wandered down towards the form before he got any more illicit ideas. Seems like, he said with a half shrug. He leaned in, peering over the edge of the paper and pointing at the bottom of the page. Be sure we stamp our seals here, then it's done on our end. Hawk's scent had shifted, and Toya immediately noticed the spice was overpowering. As though he startled the Omega, his own scent was beginning to change as well, becoming warmer and, for lack of a better word, aroused. He wanted to get closer. The little crook in Keigo's neck would fit Toya's face perfectly. All he had to do was get there. We can feel it now, he offered. His eyes slid to the blonde's lips. The lower one seemed a little swollen and pink, and he put his mouth on those lips swelled nearly to the point of action. Toya's alpha was howling, practically screaming for him to do something about the direction that was slowly creating a very visible tent in his stretchy pants. Keigo was right there, close enough to be grabbed and held, and ruined the way his instinct screamed for him to do so. He pulled himself away from his fantasy in an instant. He had control. So of all the people he knew, he had ample reign over his alpha instinct. When he leaned back to the bed, he was the definition of relaxed. However, the blood had already begun rushing south. With all of his will, he was just sitting and breathing in the sensual scent swirling around him. Or we can wait. I'm fine either way. Just want the food or tea to get cold. He had with a non-committal shrug. Non-committal shrug. He wanted Keigo to feel like he was making all the decisions. So he wanted to know whatever happened, he was something the Omega wanted. He said calm, eased back to the sweet spice that hooked him earlier. Large golden eyes were still on the paper. When we finally spoke again, those large eyes glanced at Toya for a brief moment. We can eat and then fill it out. Okay. Fuck you. All the kudos I can put. Okay. Toya sets everything up to be perfect for Ox. Ox enters, and Toya immediately sent out of citrus and spice. Toya has better control his alpha. Or skin and field frogs. At his most normal. Chapter 12. Keigo gets to know Toya's thoughts on his current situation. The chapter is so late, but I had so much writer's block. But I'm moving to some sort of spice stuff after this. I don't know, but enjoy. What the fuck was he thinking? Keigo was trying his hardest to keep his mind on straight, being surrounded by an alpha scent, not on one that he sort of kind of trusted and liked. So close to heat was a recipe for disaster. He did it, he ran off scent patches and hadn't realized it. He could barely smell his own scent, though. He just knew Taya used a scent neutralizer to make the smell weaker. But that didn't matter. His head swam with the cool sensation of eucalyptus brushing through the back of his throat every time he inhaled it. It was pleasant in a soothing way, though. His muscles relaxed, and he felt an uncontrolled shiver right up his back. Sorry, my dad keeps it sort of cool in the house. I got a blanket, though. You want it? Those damned eyes were on him again. A tattooed hand was reaching for the blanket, folded neatly at the head of the bed. Seriously? He could really handle smell being around him. Now he wanted to swallow the poor man something that was not only his, but also probably smelled just like him? Yeah. He was hiding. His Omega purred happily, took the plush, royal blue blanket and folded it. A strong wave of Toya's scent and laundry detergent and smacked him in the face. He knew that's what his Omega wanted. Gods, if he could just take the blanket and add to his nest. Keigo folded his wings against his back and wrapped the blanket around himself, feeling like a rescued baby bird. It wasn't that Toya was insanely big or that he was the most alpha-like of all those he met. He sort of knew what to say, and apparently he hadn't gotten bored of him yet. Toya was reaching for the remote control and turning on the television when Keigo finally reached for his first skewer of meat. To be honest, he got the chance to eat in casual company with someone else. It was always a business meeting here, press conference there. If he weren't in his hero costume, he was in a tuxedo or a suit promoting some cause that the Hero Association thought would boost his ratings further. The increased fans wasn't his issue, though. It was the constant lack of time, the lack of connection he was able to make because he was also focused on what's happening in the world just to let himself live. Every time Toya had been watching last popped up on the screen, as he got from his screen, he slowly began to recognize the characters. That's that show about two alphas, isn't it? Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure. I saw Shodan's boyfriend watching it one day, and I ended up looking up. Not so bad once you kind of know the characters. Like, the Omega, he's actually really cool. He's not really stereotypical. He's really smart and tends to make decisions before either of the alphas do. Toya smiled as he was speaking, and Keigo nearly forgot the other male was talking about the television show. He was so attractive, for lack of a better term. When Toya looked away from him, the angles of his face and length of his eyelashes drew golden eyes right to his face. He was so relaxed, talking and motioning towards the television every now and again, while trying to tune his brain back into the topic of conversation when the alpha turned back to him. And the alpha that he's friends with is super shy at first, really sweet of him and all that, but she hates it when the other alpha's around because he's an asshole, to be honest. Probably the most cliche part of the show, though. Yeah, Keigo asked. He hadn't been listening the entire time. That's what the way. But Alpha didn't even about that. So he's your favorite character. My eyebrows arched and hitting me on his back. He didn't take long to answer the question, though. Definitely the Omega. He's just a person I hang out with and talk to, you know? Plus, I'm sure he'd cause the least drama out of the three. Keigo couldn't help but chuckle at that. That was always the opposite of what people thought of Omegas. They were emotionally messy complainers that really couldn't do much for themselves. They were expected to stay at home and mother children that they could only hope would represent as beta or alpha to redeem themselves. And as he got older, Keigo realized the idea was also hand-delivered to him from generations prior. The idea that his own family sat on him was because, in his father's eyes, his mother had been useless once she became pregnant with him, and a child, Omega or not, was a burden to his sperm donor. Was a burden to his sperm donor. It took him by surprise when there's someone that even relatively neutral towards Omegas. He too thoughtfully as he nodded. Once he had time to swallow, his next question was already lined up. So are you okay with Omegas and Alphas hanging out and being close even when they're not together? It was an important question for Keigo. What part of him needed to know how Alpha felt? I think his entire identity rode on the thought that, well, he was an alpha, and he was just hanging out with other alphas from work whenever he had around him. And if Toya couldn't handle it, well, that'd be an issue. Toya's eyebrows creased as he turned his gaze to Keigo. His expression said very plainly, what kind of question is that? Yeah, I mean, I don't see how I can tell anyone what they can and can't be around. We're all adults at the end of the day. I may not have a lot of friends, but all of them are alphas. That's just, I don't know. Especially with that brown is at the idea of people being separated by the secondary gender. It's not anything we can control, so who am I or anyone else to tell someone who can and can't be around if they aren't bothering anyone? I think that's so fucking primitive. Sorry if that doesn't make sense. Oh, on the contrary, it made perfect sense. That was exactly how Keigo felt every time he looked in the mirror and was forced to accept his fate all over again. Lying to the public was one thing. Lying to himself and the people they actually cared about was an entire other situation. He just nodded along, showing that he understood, but having so much more going on in his head. The fact that they were on the same page relaxed Keigo a bit, and the feelings from earlier hadn't exactly left him. He was still eyeing the alpha and suppressing the urge to do the things that his Omega whispered him. Keigo pulled the blanket up and scooted towards the bed to lean back against it. After his long day, he really just wanted to sleep. Starting firm against the back, loud and curling on himself, focused on the screen. Do watch television in relative silence, focus on eating. Once I finished his first skewer and dropped it into the bag atop the table, he turned his upper body towards Keigo. He dropped his head on his hand and focused his eyes on the Omega. How do you feel about it? Her eyes met, and Keigo could have sworn. Could have sworn his heart was caught in his throat. He wasn't even doing anything, yet the bottle struggling to keep himself entirely composed. Akono's blue eyes and long eyelashes made it hard for him to look away, or a sense swallowed him in the softest way and made him feel relaxed rather than on edge. He couldn't deny anymore. He had feelings for the alpha, whether he liked it or not. Lucky it didn't take much mental fumbling to find words to respond. Pretty much the same. It's the reason I don't tell anyone, because we're just lesser in society's eyes. He paused, thinking for a moment. Despite all the adversity he faced, he still thought that these things could change. And knowing people like Toya believed that made him feel a little bit better. I don't think it's going to be like this forever. I do think that if I was found out to be or admitted being an Omega, things could be shaken up for a while. Maybe be some other heroes I come forward to. That's where, 20, 30 years ago, I can't say it would have been the same. It's only a contemplative expression. Then he gave the Omega a half smile before nodding in agreement. Yeah, I can see that. It's all wrapped up in that universal idea of progress, I think. If things go on, they sort of have to change. We aren't our parents or our grandparents, and we won't take the same type of shit they did or do. Have alphas always been this intelligent? The thought crossed Keigo's mind before he could stop it. It definitely wasn't the worst thing he ever thought about an alpha, and he was just genuinely surprised. Some of them were annoying, just like their Omega counterparts. He was impartial to conversations that didn't bring up instinct or how useless society as a whole was during heats and ruts. And Toy didn't force him to talk about it. He felt like he just let his guard down and talk a little bit, even if he was just showing a peek of what Keigo was like. His Omega chirped happily within him at how content he was in the moment. Yeah, he responded simply. He attempted to suppress the yawn that locked in his body. The best he could do was bring his hand to his mouth to silence it. He'd had a long night. That wasn't a nap one. He hadn't been this comfortable outside of his own home in years. Keigo turned his gaze back to the television set to keep himself awake. With the ending credits, soft music already playing, he couldn't even bring his eyes to focus on the lines of text. By the time the credits were finished rolling, Keigo already nodded off. Okay. A little comfy chapter. POV. There you go. Here's how things Toys is playing. Finds out that Toya about how people view alphas and omegas. There you go. Is genuinely starting to like Toya. Comfy sleep. Oh. Yeah. We're gonna end it right now. Well, with that, we're gonna end it right there. So far, the story's getting saucy a little bit saucy. We get a little bit more insight into what things are going on and things that are happening. And Keigo and Toya's relationship, how it's going so far, and just the way things are progressing to the point where you're starting to like slowly like see like the lines starting to slowly connect and things like that. This being more than just a forced relationship, I guess, like that. It kind of is, but it was a blessing, and it was a blessing hidden in a curse. Like a diamond in a rough, where a forced situation turned out to be something that he generally actually cares about, and that's pretty fucking cool. And then the spice, a little spicy. And yeah, it's cool them talking about like alphas and omegas, them not just being their stereotypical selves. Alphas are just this, and then omegas are just this, kind of thing. And like, it's nice for them like to both talk about it and see from both point of views, like how similar they both think about the whole situation and things like that. But that's just chapter 13. We still got 18 more. 18. Is that 18? I forget. 18. I think I don't know. I forgot sign language. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it for now. Give our kudos. And fuck you. Man, I don't even want to leave kudos no more. Goddamn stupid ass site. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys for listening. Chapter 14 later. And with that, I'll see you later. Bye bye.